Get ready to rewrite the definition of tactical mobility. Today we are ranking the 10 smallest, weirdest, and most capable off-road military vehicles ever to touch the battlefield. We aren't talking about standard Jeeps. We are uncovering engineering anomalies like the rare Porsche 597 that drives like a sports car, the German Faun Kraka that literally folds in half, and the Soviet Luaz 967 that you have to drive while lying flat on your stomach. From the snow-walking M29 Weasel to a controversial three-wheeled British imposter that defies logic, this list is packed with mechanical insanity. Smash that subscribe button right now and make sure you stay until the very last second, because the vehicle taking the #1 spot is a tiny armored legend that even the enemy couldn't stop using. Let's dive in. Let's kick off our journey in the frozen north. This is the Hagglunds BV 202, a legendary articulated all-terrain vehicle developed in Sweden in the early 1960s by Bolinder Munktel, a subsidiary of Volvo. The military needed to solve a specific tactical nightmare, moving troops across deep snow and treacherous bogs where standard wheeled trucks would get stuck instantly. The solution was articulation. The BV 202 consists of two separate units. The front unit carries the commander and engine, while the rear transports up to 8 soldiers. They are connected by a flexible hydraulic steering assembly that allows the vehicle to snake over the terrain rather than fighting against it. Under the shell sits a reliable Volvo B18 engine, later the B20, producing about 97 horsepower, paired with a manual 4-speed gearbox. It wasn't built for high speed, topping out at around 22 knot/h, but the most critical spec here is ground pressure. Thanks to wide rubber tracks, the BV 202 exerts a ground pressure of just 1.7 psi, that is less pressure than a human skier. This allows it to literally float on top of deep powder snow and marshland without sinking. Furthermore, it is fully amphibious without any preparation, propelling itself through water using the movement of its tracks at about 3 knots. The BV 202 was so successful that it became the backbone of NATO's northern flank during the Cold War, serving with Swedish, Norwegian, British, and Canadian forces. Soldiers simply called it the Snowcat. Although it lacked armor protection and was notoriously noisy inside, its best defense was the terrain itself. It could disappear into dense forests and remote swamps where no main battle tank would dare to follow. Today, these vehicles are aggressively hunted by civilians for polar expeditions, proving that this Swedish design is truly timeless and arguably better than its modern successors. When you hear the name Porsche, you typically imagine sleek 911s tearing down the Autobahn. You rarely think of mud-caked 4s4s, but in the 1950s, Porsche entered a bid to supply the primary light utility vehicle for the German army, Bundeswehr. The result was the Type 597 Jagdwagen, hunting car. While it might look like a metal bathtub on wheels, this machine was designed by the same engineering geniuses who were building the world's best race cars. It was developed alongside automotive legends, carrying the DNA of speed and precision in a package meant for war. Technically, this vehicle was a masterpiece. It utilized a rear-mounted air-cooled 1.6L flat-4 engine, lifted directly from the famous Porsche 356 sports car. Because the engine was in the back, the front end was incredibly light, which, combined with a short wheelbase, allowed it to climb ridiculously steep gradients, up to 65%, without tipping over. The body was a watertight monocoque hull with no doors, meaning this Porsche could float and cross rivers. In trials, it hit speeds of 100 km/h, 62.8, making it faster and more agile than any of its competitors. So why didn't the German army adopt it? The eternal answer: cost. The Porsche 597 was too sophisticated and expensive to mass-produce compared to the simpler DKW Munga. Furthermore, Porsche lacked the factory capacity to fulfill the 50,000 units the army demanded immediately. Only 71 Jagdwagens were ever built, including prototypes, making it one of the rarest and most expensive Porsches on the planet. If you own one today, you are holding a multi-million-dollar fortune and a fascinating historical what-if story. Named after a sturdy breed of small Austrian mountain horse, the Steyr-Puch Haflinger is the perfect definition of small but mighty. Produced starting in 1959, this vehicle is incredibly compact, only about 112 inches long and 53 inches wide. You could almost park it in your living room. However, the Austrian and Swiss armies needed a vehicle capable of hauling heavy weapons up narrow, slippery mountain trails where larger jeeps would simply slide off the cliff. The Haflinger was born to master the Alps. The secret behind the Haflinger's climbing ability lies in its portal axles. Instead of the axle going straight into the wheel center, it uses a gear set to lift the axle tube higher, creating massive ground clearance. Powered by a 642cc flat twin engine, it isn't fast, but it produces incredible low-end torque. Uniquely, the driver can lock both front and rear differentials on the fly using two separate levers. Weighing just 1,300 lbs, it can carry a payload equal to its own body weight, a feat modern trucks dream of. The Haflinger wasn't just a European toy, it was exported all over the globe. The Australian Army used it in the jungle, and it saw service across Africa. Because of its tiny size, it became the ideal platform for mounting recoilless rifles or anti-tank missiles, perfect for shoot-and-scoot ambush tactics. It could hide behind rocks or small bushes where the enemy couldn't spot it. Today, professional off-roaders often rate the Haflinger higher than modified Jeep Wranglers, because in tight technical terrain, this little pony is absolute king. The M29 Weasel traces its origins to a secret mission. In 1942, British inventor Geoffrey Pike proposed Project Plough, a plan to drop commandos into Norway to destroy Nazi heavy water plants. They needed a vehicle that could be airdropped and move rapidly over snow. Studebaker accepted the challenge and created the M29 Weasel in just 180 days. Although the Norway mission was scrapped, the vehicle was simply too good to throw away. It became the most versatile tactical transport for difficult terrain. Essentially, the M29 is a pocket tank without a turret. It utilized a wide 15-inch rubber track system that distributed the vehicle's weight incredibly effectively, allowing it to float over soft mud, quicksand, and deep snow. The front-mounted Studebaker Champion 6-cylinder engine, 70 HP, provided reliable power. Although designed for snow, the Weasel found its true home on the black volcanic sands of Iwo Jima and the muddy fields of Europe. The M29C variant even added front and rear buoyancy tanks for better amphibious operations. The Weasel's career didn't end when World War II closed. It went on to fight in Korea and was particularly favored by the French Army during the Indochina War. There, the Weasel's ability, nicknamed Krab, to navigate rice paddies and swamps was unmatched, allowing troops to move during the tropical monsoon season. The M29 Weasel is a crucial bridge in military history between the Jeep and the modern armored personnel carrier. It was the infantryman's best friend when the road ended and the nightmare terrain began. Let's jump back to the modern era with a machine that looks like a golf cart on steroids. This is the Supacat ATMP, all-terrain mobility platform. Developed in the UK in the 1980s, this six-wheeled vehicle has become a staple of the British SAS and elite special forces. Unlike the vintage vehicles, the Supacat is high-tech. It is designed with a philosophy of speed and agility, no roof, no doors, a low center of gravity, and it can be easily transported inside a Chinook helicopter or slung underneath a Blackhawk. The Supacat features a permanent six-wheel drive system, 6x6. The front four wheels are steered using motorcycle-style handlebars, and it utilizes a tank-like skid steering mechanism to turn incredibly fast. Its heart is a VW 1.9L turbo diesel engine, providing massive torque to tow trailers weighing up to 1.6 tons. But the most impressive feature is its amphibious capability. Thanks to massive low-pressure tires that act as pontoons, the Supacat can float and swim across rivers without any preparation whatsoever, a rarity in modern logistics vehicles. The ATMP is truly a multi-role platform. It can be reconfigured in minutes to serve as a troop carrier, an ammo hauler, or a missile launch station. During the Gulf War and operations in Afghanistan, these vehicles proved their worth by bringing supplies to remote outposts that armored trucks couldn't reach due to soft sand or rocky terrain. If you see a Supacat speeding through the dust, it usually means the world's most dangerous warriors are very close by. Germany returns to the list with perhaps the strangest design of the Cold War, the Faun Kraka 640. Developed in the 1960s for West German airborne troops, Fallschirmjäger, the requirement for this vehicle was unique. It had to be small enough to fit into the cramped transport aircraft of the time. The engineers at Faun came up with a crazy solution: make the vehicle foldable. The Kraka's chassis features a massive hinge in the middle, allowing the entire vehicle to fold in half to reduce length, ready to be parachuted onto the battlefield. To power this deadly toy, they used a 690cc twin-cylinder boxer engine taken from a BMW motorcycle, the 427. The engine sits low in the frame to keep the center of gravity stable. Despite looking fragile, the Kraka was a beast when it came to payload. It could carry over 750 kg, 1,650 lbs of cargo, which is nearly double its own weight. It utilized massive low-pressure ellipsoid tires to float over sand, and although the driver sat completely exposed, the vehicle was incredibly hard to spot due to its tiny size. The Kraka wasn't just a cargo hauler, it was a tank killer. It was frequently equipped with the 20mm RH-202 autocannon or TOW wire-guided anti-tank missile systems. Imagine being a Soviet tank commander and getting taken out by a folding go-kart hiding in a bush. The Kraka served until the 1990s before being replaced by the Weasel AWC. It remains a cult classic because it represents a time when military engineers were willing to experiment with the boldest ideas to solve logistic problems. On the other side of the Iron Curtain, the Soviets had their own answer, the Luaz 967. Originally designed for airborne forces and medical evacuation purposes, this vehicle is Russian utilitarianism taken to the extreme. It looks like a flat metal box with 4 tiny wheels. Its purpose was grim: crawl out to the front lines under heavy fire, recover wounded soldiers, and transport them across rivers and streams back to safety without needing bridges. It was designed to be cheap, easy to produce, and easy to replace. The Luaz 967 possesses one of the weirdest survival features in automotive history. Its steering column can fold down and the driver's seat can be flattened into the floor. This allows the driver to operate the vehicle while lying completely flat on their stomach, reducing the vehicle's profile to just a few feet. Why? So they can drive through tall grass or under enemy machine gun fire without getting hit. The engine is an air-cooled MZ V4, known for being loud but easy to fix with basic tools. This vehicle is also a true amphibian, moving through water via the rotation of its wheels, reaching about 3 km/h. The body features built-in rails and electric winches to pull stretchers on board quickly. It wasn't built for comfort, it was built for survival in the mud of Eastern Europe. While it looks crude compared to Western counterparts, the Luaz 967 was incredibly effective and durable, standing as a testament to Soviet military doctrine: simple, cheap, and getting the job done at any cost. The U.S. military M274 Mule challenges the definition of a vehicle. It has no cab, no suspension, no bodywork, and not even a real seat, just a mesh basket. It is simply a flat platform attached to an engine. Introduced in the late 1950s and becoming an icon of the Vietnam War, the Mule was designed to do exactly one thing: carry the burden for the foot soldier, water, ammo, food, in dense jungles where large trucks couldn't squeeze through. The M274 holds more engineering interest than meets the eye. Early models, A1, used magnesium alloys to keep weight down, allowing Marines to flip it back over if it tipped. It features 4-wheel drive and, crucially, 4-wheel steering. This allowed the mule to crab walk, helping it navigate incredibly well around tree stumps in the jungle. The steering column was detachable, allowing the soldier to walk behind the vehicle and drive it like a lawnmower, using the vehicle and its cargo as a bullet shield. In Vietnam, mules didn't just carry cargo, they were often transformed into tiny fighting machines, mounting massive 106mm recoilless rifles or 50 cal machine guns directly onto the deck. They acted as mobile bunker busters because there was no suspension. The low-pressure tires acted as the only shock absorbers. Riding it would shake every bone in your body, but the mule never complained. They were phased out in the 80s, but for the troops in the jungle, the mule was a life-saving legend. Now we arrive at the wild card, the Reliant Robin. You might be screaming at your screen, that's a British three-wheeled disaster, not a tank. And officially, you are right. The Reliant Robin was never standard issue for any major military. However, it earns a spot on this list as the most famous improvised anomaly. In civil wars or asymmetric conflicts, when militias are short on vehicles, anything with an engine gets drafted, and the Robin has inadvertently been dragged into the battlefield. Theoretically, it has a few military pros. It's extremely light, under 1,000 lbs. The 800 EFC engine is simple to fix. In fact, this engine was used by the military for fire pumps, and it sips gas. But in reality, with a single front wheel, its center of gravity is a physics disaster. If you try to corner hard to dodge a mortar, you won't escape. You'll roll over. While you might see photos of camo-painted Robins or ones with turrets online, these are usually the work of enthusiasts or shows like Top Gear mocking the idea. So why did we include it on this list? Because it represents the bottom of the barrel, the vehicle you use when you have absolutely nothing else. It serves as a hilarious but necessary contrast to the high-end engineering of the Porsche or the Haflinger. It highlights the difference between a vehicle designed for war and a civilian car trying to enlist. The Reliant Robin is a cultural icon, a bit of comic relief in the serious and cold world of military hardware, reminding us that not all ideas are good ones. We end our list with the great-grandfather of micro-armor, the Renault UE Chenillette from 1930s France. This is a tankette, a concept very popular between the world wars. Its size is almost comical. It is so low that the two crew members couldn't sit up straight. They had to sit deep inside the hull with only their heads sticking out, protected by semicircular steel domes that looked like mobile mushrooms. It was mass-produced, with nearly 5,000 units built before 1940. The Chenillette's main mission wasn't direct combat, but to serve as an armored pack horse. It towed small anti-tank guns and resupplied infantry with ammunition right at the front lines. It featured a rear storage bin with a dumping mechanism, allowing the crew to drop ammo crates to soldiers in trenches without ever having to climb out and expose themselves to sniper fire. The 9mm armor was only enough to stop rifle rounds. With a top speed of just 19 mm, it wasn't fast, but its small size and stealth were its best armor. When France fell in 1940, the Germans captured thousands of these tiny vehicles. Instead of melting them down for scrap, the German army fell in love with them for their reliability. They renamed them the UE 630F, repainted them, mounted MG-34 machine guns, and even heavy Wolfram 40 rocket launchers to turn them into mini self-propelled artillery. The widespread reuse of this vehicle by the enemy is the clearest testament to its clever design, small, hard to hit, and useful in every situation. From the snow-gliding Weasel to the backpack foldable Kraka and the three-wheel disaster of the Reliant Robin, these machines prove that in war size is just a number. Innovation, adaptability, and sometimes just being small enough to hide behind a bush can be the difference between victory and defeat. Which one of these mini-beasts would you want in your garage for the zombie apocalypse? I'm taking the Supacat for the speed, but let me know your pick in the comments below. If you learned something new today, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's strangest machinery. See you in the next one.